always the potential that you are one design or one listing away from creating your first best-selling product. If you are trying to start and grow your print-on-demand business, this could be you, and I don't want you to be that guy who made it so close, didn't realize that they really were just one pick away. You truly never know how close you are to reaching your goals, and with print on demand, it can really be one design away or one listing away. And so in this video, to avoid being this guy, we are going to walk through some of my top tips for creating unique, high quality designs to help your print on demand products stand out and see sales and get you to the gold. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Hello, my name is Taylor. If you're interested in videos about print on demand, passive income, and entrepreneurship, then this is the place for you. Be sure to boop the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. To create a great design, we also have to understand the fundamentals of a great design. And this really breaks down into three main components. The first component is your font choice. Now, not all designs include font or text at all, but for those that do, we want to make sure that we are choosing a font that is going to connect and resonate with who we are trying to speak to with our design. Who we're trying to speak to is often the individual who would purchase the design. A great example of this, if I am looking to create a Halloween design, font choice can be pretty important. I want to make sure that the font that I'm using really speaks to the design style that I'm creating. In contrary, if I'm creating a design that has nothing to do with Halloween, but then I use this spooky font, it doesn't really speak to that target customer. And it's not something particularly that's probably gonna sell. It's important to use fonts that are legible, trendy, and speak to the message that your design is trying to convey. The second fundamental to a great design is going to be your color choice. Similar to your font choice, you want to make sure that you are choosing colors that are going to, of course, resonate with your target customer and speak to the message that you're trying to convey in the design that you're creating. Now, these two fundamentals all lead to the third, which is having some type of emotional connection and value in the design that you create. Just as I mentioned with font and color choice and how those two fundamentals need to speak to your target audience, it needs to be relatable and it needs to provide some form of emotional connection. If all of this is confusing, don't worry. This is just the basics. This is just the foundation that I'm laying out. I'm going to give you some visuals and some examples of what this actually looks like in a more practical way. Understanding the fundamentals of a great design is, of course, important, but there is another piece that I think is the most valuable and most critical piece to creating a great design, and that is doing your design research. I have several other videos about design research on my channel, and I will be sure to link those all in the description if you want to binge those after this. But what your design research should look like is by analyzing other products specifically that are selling on Etsy, have maybe bestseller badges, popular now badges, listings that are showing that there's 20 plus in the cart or have a certain amount of views in the last 24 hours. All of these are examples of some indicators that we should be looking for when we are doing our design research. The most important thing about design research is that it is called design research. It is not called design copying. So we want to make sure that we are looking at designs from a very neutral perspective, breaking down the components of the design. Can we identify what types of fonts are being used, maybe some layouts to specific designs, color patterns, and then can we take those different elements and components of the designs that we are looking at for inspiration and doing our research from, take those components, combine them in a new and unique way, completely in a different niche ideally, and create something that again is going to be unique, high quality, and set up for success to sell. I like to start my design research on Etsy. For this case, I am going to just start by typing in women's t-shirts. A little hack, if you didn't know, we can go to all filters. I am going to click star seller, and then up at the top of the search bar, we are going to be a little sneaky here, and where it says star, I'm going to erase that and just type in the word best. This is the way to find best sellers and bestsellers only. As I scroll through the search results, there is no exact science to what I'm looking for. I am simply just looking to identify some design components that resonate with me, that I like visually, and I'll dive a little bit deeper into them. This is a listing that I found in the search results that stood out to me. We know it's a bestseller. We can also see now that we've clicked into the listing that it has 20 plus views in the last 24 hours. That's a great indicator that this is something that is selling really well right now. And I'm not looking at this from the perspective of that I'm looking to create anything related to this niche. I am simply looking at this from a design perspective and identifying the components in this design so that I can create something completely unique later. We know this listing is performing well based off of those two indicators, but we can also analyze the listing and see a little bit more stats about it. So this listing in particular has an estimated monthly sales of 169, over $5,000 in estimated monthly revenue. And my favorite metric to look at when it comes to design research is listing age. Finding listings like this that are relatively young on Etsy, I think are a great source of inspiration and motivation as well. I'm going to go ahead and just keep this tab open. This is going to be a source of inspiration for me when it comes to designing. All right, so I found this listing, which is super cute, and I am not surprised at all that this is a bestseller and that it's in 15 carts. This is another example of an indicator that we can look for just kind of to validate that this is performing really well. Not surprised that this is a bestseller. An espresso martini sweatshirt. I don't know if anybody else feels like espresso martinis have just like infiltrated their area, but I feel like every single girl that I know, every other Instagram story that I see on a Friday night, they're drinking an espresso martini. But we can analyze this listing as well. And we can see that this listing, okay, so this is really interesting. It's only been listed for 3 months. Now, keep in mind when we're analyzing listings like this, sometimes it does take a little bit of time to really accrue some data. But we know that it's a bestseller and we know that it's in 15 carts, and likely this data just hasn't really quite caught up yet with how this listing is performing. So this is a listing that is hot off the press, doing really well, and that we can definitely take a source of inspiration from. So I am going to keep this tab open, jump back, see if I can find one more, because I'd love to create 3 different designs today. Last design, I found this design, and I don't really even know what it means to say crows before bros. I don't know if this is like a reference to something. If it is, let me know in the comments, but I have no idea. Regardless, it's a bestseller. It's in 20 plus carts, so clearly it is doing really well. Analyzing this listing, it is very new. It's a listing that is only 1 month old, 40 sales, about almost $700 in monthly revenue. But I imagine that this is a low ballpark number to what this listing is currently actually seeing based off of the fact that it's in 20 plus carts. So the reason that I have this is, again, design inspiration. I like the format of the design, like the more square look to it. I feel like this is a really popular design style that has been repurposed in so many different ways. Definitely a design style that I've seen be very, very popular recently. This is research that I do monthly, and research that you should be doing as well if you are looking to expand your design skill and really understand how to create a best-selling product. I pack all of my research that I do each month into a trend report that actually is given out to all of the members in my mentorship group, the POD Connection, breaking down bestsellers, analyzing design styles, what keywords are being used, what's really popular and seeing an uptick in sales right now. It includes a full color roundup with popular colors and color combinations, a font roundup with all of the specific fonts that are being seen on bestsellers. There's also a few pages of keyword alerts, so identifying what keywords are currently spiking in search volume, as well as what keywords we can anticipate spiking in the upcoming months, as well as a focus forward that is just an overall recap of everything that's in the trend report, what to focus on, and practical, actionable steps to move the needle. If any of that is something that interests you, now is the time to join the POD Connection, as the doors are going to be closing on September 30th. I'm closing them completely for Q4, and the doors will not reopen until 2025. So if you're watching this in the future, maybe you're watching this during the Q4 holiday season, then there still will be a link in the description box, but it'll be a link that takes you to the wait list. So if you want to get on the wait list and be notified when the group reopens, definitely check that out. But if you're watching this and it's still September and the doors haven't closed yet and you're interested in joining, be sure to check it out below. The first design that I created here is pulling inspiration from the Goosebumps t-shirt. As you can see, the design that I created has nothing to do with goose or geese and has nothing to do with that niche. It is more so pulling components from the design, repurposing it in a new way and in a new niche to have something completely unique. In previous years, there's been tons of best-selling Halloween designs that feature skeleton hands. I've seen a lot of designs with like these skeleton heart hands or the peace sign or something like that. And so that is something that I wanted to incorporate into this new design. And so I found this graphic actually from Creative Fabrica, and with Kittl, you can actually erase parts of a graphic that you find. So I am using the eraser tool in Kittl to get rid of the 3 little mini fists and the word dad. This is super helpful when you do find a graphic that you like from a place like Creative Fabrica, because you can completely customize it. So that's what I wanted to do here. And then I wanted to create something that kind of mirrored that idea of the goosebumps and 2 skeleton hands giving each other a fist bump. Then I wanted to come up with a fun phrase to go with it. The original design had the goosebumps, and I liked the idea of maybe some type of funny pun related to skeleton hands and making it spooky. So I went to ChatGPT, and I found this phrase of bumpin' bones, which I thought was super cute. The font that I ended up going with for this phrase is Amatic SC. I liked this just simple, dainty font. I feel like it matched the design style that I was going for here really well. And then I wanted to add in some little lines. In the inspiration design, there was those little lines that kind of just gave the feeling that the fists were being bumped. And so that's what I was trying to recreate here. I was playing around with a couple different straight line elements and curved line elements. I ended up not really liking this straight line in the middle. I felt like it looked weird. So I just duplicated one of the other little curved lines and just rotated it a little bit to give that same feeling. Now, something that I like to do when I am creating a design is I like to imagine what the design is going to look like against the color that I'm going to be selling that design on. So I started putting in some different comfort colors hex codes. This is for the yam color, and I thought that that would be a really cool color option to offer this design on because it's Halloween and that color just has a very fall feel to it. To take this design up another notch, I decided to add a grunge texture to it. I personally like to go in and click to the alpha mask. That is going to make it a little bit more of a distressed look, and then clipping the content will apply it only to the design and not covering the entire canvas. Because I also want to be able to offer this design on different color variations, I thought it would be good to make a white version of this design as well. So at first I just used the image vectorizer for the fist skeleton hand graphic. That allowed me to change the color of that to white, and then I just changed the color of the other elements. But I wasn't really loving that, and instead I had this idea of making it more of a bone color, like an off-white, and so that's what I did, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. I decided to put that up against what a light green Comfort Colors product would look like, and I just think that this looks absolutely fantastic. This design is so simple, and that's honestly what I love about it. Simple designs truly do sell best. This is definitely a design that I could see being a bestseller. For this next design, I'm pulling inspiration from the espresso martini sweatshirt that we saw, and a popular design style that has been very popular in the bachelorette niche is what I'll call the social club style. Kind of looks like this, and with this style, I wanted to pull some of those elements that are popular in that design style and repurpose them to the espresso martini niche. I went back to Creative Fabrica, and that is where I found this watercolor espresso martini graphic. I have found lots of bestsellers recently as I've been doing design research using elements that are watercolor. And so I think that that's definitely a new trend that is emerging with just different graphic styles and design styles. And graphics like that are usually pretty easy to find if you just combine the word watercolor with the type of graphic that you're looking for. For this design, I decided to play around with a couple different ways of wording this. I wanted it to say espresso martini, but I wasn't quite sure how I felt about that all being across the top. So something that I like to do often is I will do a side-by-side of one version and then another, and that usually helps me kind of be a little bit more decisive in what I think looks best. So I wanted to compare espresso martini versus just espresso at the top, and I ended up liking just espresso at the top. I thought it looked a little bit cleaner and a little bit just easier on the eye. So that's what I ended up going with, and I really liked this font. This is the American, I guess that's how it's pronounced, font. I thought that that was really cute, and then I wanted to do a fun script font for the word martini and have that go across the bottom. There's tons of really cute script fonts in Kittl. I wanted to do the same thing really with this design and compare some of the script fonts against one another. So I duplicated my artboard once again and just explored some other options. I ended up going with the Monte Carlo font. I liked the way that looked. It just fit what I was looking for this vibe of the fancy kind of luxury style that I feel this design style gives. Lastly, I wanted to add in the social club component that is super popular right now. So I played around with these being on the side of the martini glass. Wasn't a big fan of that, so I ended up locating it to the bottom, and I just made it a little bit tiny in that same font as the word espresso along the bottom. I decided to pull the brown from the graphic for the lettering so that it just felt a little bit more cohesive. And then I changed the artboard to this ivory color. I think that this looked really good, but I wanted to see what maybe a light version of the design looked like as well. So I played around with making the font color more of that ivory color and then putting it on an espresso background color. The espresso color in Comfort Colors is one that is super popular right now and a really great color addition to offer if apparel and Comfort Colors products are something that you sell in your shop. But I wasn't a fan of the way that the word martini looked against the glass. I feel like it was kind of hard to read. So instead I decided to mix it up and go for more of a monochromatic look. You'll see I just darkened the brown a little bit, and I think that looks absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love the way this design turned out. I feel like it is so simple, but just gives this luxury, classy feel. And our last design, I am pulling inspo from this design where we have the more square, rectangular look. And when I saw the phrase along the bottom, my mind immediately went to support your local farmers and thinking of chickens, and chickens have been really popular on Etsy. If you weren't familiar, there's been tons of listings that do really well. Like the keyword chicken sweatshirt is one that is extremely high search volume right now and has continued to be for quite some time. So that's kind of where I pulled the inspiration from for what I wanted to repurpose this design style to be. And I started off by adding in a square box. I wanted to recreate that same shape and then have along the bottom, support your local farmer. So this is kind of my base that I wanted to start with. I did repurpose the same font that I used for the Bump and Bones. I liked this font because I feel like it kind of looks like chicken scratch, and because I'm creating a design that's going to be chicken oriented, I thought that it was very fitting. Similar to the Bump and Bones design, I did go back to ChatGPT and try to come up with maybe some different types of phrases for some text along the top of this design, but ultimately I didn't really find anything that I liked, and so I decided to just eliminate having text across the top at all and just have the text along the bottom and up above really just be more graphic based. I've really been loving the watercolor elements, just like I used with the espresso martini glass. Back to Creative Fabrica, and I found this super cute watercolor chicken, and I liked the placement here where it looked like he was kind of, or she, I don't know the chicken's gender, but it was kind of stepping on the box and almost like it was like walking out of it. I feel like it gave this really cool perspective. So I liked this chicken, and then I also found another pack of watercolor elements that were just watercolor farm elements. And so I decided to start adding some of those in just to give this depth and whole visual of a farm, just so that it made sense with the whole support your local farmer. I also used the eraser tool in Kittle here again because I was creating this little line of fencing and it was just a bit too long when I was duplicating the fencing. So I just erased part of it, and the box and line actually was really helpful there because I feel like it helped give me exactly where I needed to cut it off to. So it was almost like I was just erasing inside of the lines. I envisioned having some sort of like curved stone path that gave some perception from where the chicken was to the barn, and I played around with a bunch of different AI images and trying to generate something like that. I'm not really the best with AI prompts, and so what I was getting, I didn't really feel matched what I was looking for, so I ended up just completely scratching that idea, and I ended up filling in the space with just some of the other barn and farm elements that I had in that watercolor pack. So I added in a tree, added in some of this grass, I added a little shovel and a wheelbarrow to the graphic, and I feel like that gave it just enough to kind of fill in that space so it didn't look empty. I did also play around with the layers and the placement of everything. So you'll see in the video where I am adding things to the front, to the back, to the forward, backward, and all which ways, just so that it gave this, again, that perception, kind of like a depth perception of that I'm looking at this graphic from a distance, and then the barn and the tree and everything is off yonder in the pasture or something farm related. I really didn't end up loving the box around the design, especially once I saw it against a color. So I ended up just erasing the box, and I think it looked a lot better without it. I really like this moss color that is available through Comfort Colors, and I feel that earthy tone is very fitting for this specific design style. And then I also thought that this would look really good on a mustard Comfort Colors mock-up. So I ended up putting that on this last artboard, and again, absolutely love how this design turned out. I did use Kittle to create all of these designs, so if you are not already using Kittle and are interested in trying it, I do have a link in the description box below, as well as a discount code. So you can use that discount code, save yourself a little money if you're looking to get started and try Kittle out. Let me know in the comments down below which design was your favorite. Was it number 1, 2, or 3? And as a reminder, doors are closing to the POD Connection on September 30th. The POD Connection is my mentorship group where we can work together for a personalized strategy in growing your print-on-demand business. So if you're interested in that and looking for coaching throughout the Q4 season, now is the time to join. Or if not, or if doors have already closed, you're watching this in the future, there will be a waitlist down in the description as well that you can join so that you can be notified when doors reopen in the new year. Be sure to give this video a like if you found value in it. And as always, I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.